Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kansept Shard. So, Kansept knives, who are they? A lot of the, from what I understand, a lot of the designers and a few, I think a few of the main designers who used to work at Kaiser actually started this Kansept company. Without even, if you've handled Kaisers, without knowing that, if you picked up a Kansept knife, there's this odd Kaiser-y essence about it. And it's something that I noticed immediately. You know, maybe it was set in motion by the box and the packaging and stuff that it came with. In a lot of ways, there were a lot of little details that made my subconscious started to think Kaiser. And then I handled these, and that's really the feeling that I got. But I think it's important to point out here that while this feels like Kaiser, it feels like Kaiser Plus. It's something that I said in the unboxing. And what I mean by that is Kaiser makes great knives. The company's always had great quality, but this, in a lot of ways, the designs that they sent to me really feel like a step up. There's a lot of impressive stuff. There were 3 knives that were sent to me by Kansept, so I want to thank Kansept for reaching out on Instagram and sending these guys to me. This knife in particular will be listed right down in the description if you'd like to pick it up. There are many variants and they span a wide range of prices. There are versions of this that are coming that are not yet available that cost even less than the one that you're seeing here. Actually, it's pretty surprising. We're going to talk all about that. Also, thank you so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some of these cool stickers and some other benefits, there's, of course, a link down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and get a measurement of the Kansept Shard. Overall length is coming in at about 8 inches on the dot. Maybe just a hair shy, but it really looks about 8 inches. Blade length, 3.5 inches. Cutting edge. Also, well, 3.4, maybe 3. It's about exactly the same as where the frame is. So about 3.5 inches of cutting edge. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Got some debris on the Rat today. Sorry about that. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall. So a little bit shorter there than the PM2. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in about exactly the same length at 8 inches overall. So it's a good size comparison there. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 is coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How's the action of this guy? So this knife is running on bearings, and Kansept knives are made in China. It feels very similar in the action department to a Kaiser. Now, the other knives that I received were the Cryo and the Warrior. And the Cryo was pretty good. The Warrior was not quite as smooth. This is definitely the smoothest of the bunch. It's not quite totally drop shut, but it is 100% perfectly acceptable. This is kind of we're working at an angle here, and I've got a very small amount of room to fit my arm in under so my normal movements when I'm doing that are not being shown on camera, but this is very smooth. It is frictionless. It's just tight enough to keep it controlled on the way back down. But as far as like what, I would say any common knife enthusiast would expect in this price range, the action is 100% perfectly acceptable. In fact, it feels very high quality. If it was draggy and there was friction in there, and at the same time also not fall shut, I might knock it down a bit, but it's not. It's not draggy. There's not a bunch of friction or anything like that. It's just tight enough to keep it from falling or guillotining your fingers on the way back down. The detent is nice. It is tuned well. I'll show you guys. Nice click there. No detent lash at all. The flipper tab has jimping in the right place. It's kind of knocked down, like kind of this drop angle right here. Then you can see on the corners, everything's nicely knocked down. The landing zone is nice and smooth. It's one of those knives that's going to flip every single time. Now, there is an opening hole right here, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, is there any area where you can access that hole? No. It's too deep in there to get your finger in there. So that little hole is going to be an aesthetic feature only, and that's a bummer. It would have been really cool to be able to do the reverse flick or get it with your thumb and kind of wheel it out. So that's an aesthetic thing. It's a design that's not gonna necessarily cause a problem with cutting, but it's, I always like to see that when I can actually access it. But it's okay. It's not really hurting anything. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check here real quick. Get out my tools. My tools are listed down in the description. They are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can pick those up if you want. I'm going to guess the pivot is a T8. That's what it looks like. Yeah, the pivot is a T8, and there's a head on both sides. The body screws are going to be T6. You guys know my thoughts on T6. I don't like it. I wish it was T8. It makes me feel a little bit better about disassembling it. The T6 screws strip out a little bit too easily, right? But it's not a deal breaker. There is pretty minimal hardware. This is a pretty straightforward frame lock, so it shouldn't be that difficult to take apart. That's what you're working with there. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Para 3. Thickness on this guy is extremely similar. This guy might be a tad thicker because it is contoured, but that's really not that big of a deal. In fact, I will take some contouring along with a little bit of excess thickness just to get that filling out the hand feeling. How about some length and height up against two knives that are a bit awkward in the pocket, the Para 2, the PM2 and Para 3. So lengthwise, it's a little bit longer than the Para 3, a little bit shorter than the PM2. In terms of height, even including the flipper tab, it's nowhere near as tall as either of them. You can see there. This is just a knife that's going to fit well in the pocket. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get a measure of blade stock thickness on this guy. Blade stock thickness of the Shard coming in probably about 155. No, I'm wrong. 140 thousandths. Okay. Put it up against the PM2 so you guys can look there. Yeah, PM2 is also 140 thousandths, so there you go. Now weight on this guy. Let me get one of my flashlights here. FW3T today. You can pick up the aluminum version of this flashlight down in my description. You can see there is no internal milling. So your weight is probably 4.5, 4.75. Let's see if I'm right. No, 3.99. What? Man, I was way off. Well, it feels heavier than that, but yeah, 3.99 ounces. Okay, so that's fine. So it's a little over that ounce and inch mark. It's right on the line of that 4 ounce mark. Depends on what you like to go by. This is not a knife that would bother me at all personally. The profile of it's going to be great in the pocket if you wear, athletic shorts, skinny jeans every day, or you've been used to carrying the Bug Out or Para 3 lightweight. This might not be your cup of tea. If you've been carrying knives like this, this size, it's legal to carry this type of knife in your area, and you wear like jeans or work pants, something like that, this isn't going to bother you at all. The carry profile is excellent, goes in and out of the pocket pretty easily. We're going to talk about one little teeny tiny thing. But yeah, this is good. All right, did we talk about everything? I think we did. Let's go ahead and take a look at the anatomy here. So we have that very Kaiser-y bead blasted titanium, but it looks good. There's nothing wrong with that. Bead blasted titanium looks nice. It will start to get some snail trails and stuff on it as you carry it and use it. That's okay. In a lot of ways, the snail trails give knives like this character, so I don't have a problem with that. I really like the position of the inlay here, and this is really nice. You guys can see there are no gaps, not a hint of a gap anywhere on this thing. It is really nicely done. So there are different versions of this knife. There's the carbon fiber inlay. There's one that's like, almost looks like, it's like green titanium and then like a copper inlay. And then they've got one with a Damascus inlay. Now these prices go all over the place. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, the one that you're looking at right here is about 235 bucks. It has the Damascus clip. They do have a standard one in carbon fiber without a Damascus clip that comes in about 200. They have ones that are just slightly less than that. I think 195 maybe for that green one and the copper. And then they've got one that's coming that's all titanium with no inlay, no special clip, and I think it comes in at 170. They also have one with a full Damascus inlay and Damascus clip that comes in at about 300. So there's quite a bit of choice in there, and I think they're pretty spot on with the price. Honestly, generally I save that for the end, but I'm really happy to see all the different variants and that there's such a wide range of prices this knife comes in at. I think they knew that this knife was going to be, fairly popular, or that maybe, I don't know, that some of us reviewers might like it, and people just picking it up. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I will link as many different versions of this as I can find down in the description so you guys can check them all out. Even if you just want to go look and see what they've got, you can do that. But yeah, the inlay work is really great. The carbon fiber looks nice. I like the position of it, right? I like that the screws are really simple. The pivot looks fine. There's nothing crazy going on here. I've always, Kaiser always had a problem with that weird pivot that kind of looked like a rim from a car in the 90s, or almost like a saw blade or like a fireball. It was just a little bit weird. But this is nice. This looks really classy, closed and open. I just really like it. Edges are all nicely knocked down. I'm not feeling any sharpness. Just a little bit more angular back here on the carbon fiber, but not that bad. It's not, I mean, gripping it, right? It's really not something that I notice or have a problem with. This has a pretty good, blade to handle ratio, but there's not a lot of room on the handle. You're kind of locked into one position. It's just roomy enough where I don't feel cramped. That's with my hands. I wear an XL glove. If you've got smaller hands than me, you'll have a little more room. If you've got bigger hands than me, this might feel more cramped to you, but not a big deal in my opinion. That hole, despite not being able to access it, they did a great job knocking it out. They honestly could have, I guess, cutting with this, it's nice that it's knocked down, because if you're passing this portion of the blade through material, it's not going to get hung up on a sharp corner right there. It does look nice. It really, really does look nice. It's got a beautiful tumbled finish on it, nice light grain structure, nice and reflective. I love that tumbled finish. That's really nice. Kansept logos right there. They couldn't move it higher because they had the hole up. That's fine, no big deal. Unfortunately, we still have this K1006A3, right? It says S35EN on there. That's fine. I don't like that serial number. And then it says Shard on the other side. I don't know why companies want to put the name of the knife on the design. I understand their maker's logo, but the name of the knife, I know what it is. In this hypothetical scenario where I bought it, I bought it. So I know what it is. That's fine. It's not taken away from anything in terms of utility. It's just weird when they're just like, this is, in case you forgot, this is the Shard. No big deal. Everything's knocked down. That's because of the tumbled finish on this guy. Now, they either have satin finishes available now, or they will have satin finishes available, and I'll be interested to see, maybe if the corners are a little bit sharper. They probably will be. Tumbling always knocks that down. So that's the way that it is on this guy, and that's why I prefer the tumbled finish. Got a nice reverse tanto going on right here. Nice tip. The edge is done very, very well. There's no wonkiness or, bad symmetry or anything like that. It's not a laser beam down at the edge, but it is definitely thin enough and sharp enough to tackle your regular EDC tasks. If one of your hobbies includes shaving wax paper or shaving 100 layers out of a single sheet of wax paper, maybe this isn't going to be your thing. But yeah, as far as your regular, just your normal, 80% of what we use our knives for type tasks, cutting open boxes and things, yeah, this is going to be a good blade. Nothing wrong with it at all. For me, I just like the, kind of classy, futuristic look of it. I like the tumbled finish. I like the overall execution. There's just a lot to like here. Really, really like it. Plenty of access to that lock bar right there. Nice and comfortable to disengage. No double clutch. That flipper tab falls on your thumb, at a point where the detent ball is well up on the face of the blade. This does not have a detent ball ramp, but it's pretty smooth. I mean, you can still kick it. It doesn't get hung up or anything like that. So I just don't have a problem with it. This is one of those knives where you can sit and flip it over and over and over and over again. And it doesn't get uncomfortable. That's kind of it's a funny thing. It's it's a pocket knife, so it should be used. But so many of us are flipping our knives and messing with them so often that when knives aren't good for that, when they feel clunky, when you're trying to repeatedly flip it and kind of do it absent-mindedly, it bothers you. This knife, no, it's totally, if you've got this knife and you're watching this video right now for reaffirmation on your purchase and you're sitting there flipping it over and over again, you're probably nodding your head going, yep, that's correct. It is fun to flip over and over again. That's the case. It's nice. It's one of those knives that's good for that. I like the standoffs. It's very simple, just sort of a polished steel standoff. And then they've got this bar back here. I'm not really sure the purpose of the bar, if they needed excess integrity. It's a lanyard. It's a place to tie off a lanyard if you want to. That's fine. I don't really care that it's there. It looks funny between the two standoffs, but I'd rather that be there than a big lanyard hole. I just don't care about lanyard holes. I keep cracking jokes about it, and I think most of the knife world is, excuse me, I'm wiping off this clip. I think most of the knife world is moving on from the whole lanyard hole thing, so that's fine. Boy, look at that clip. That is cool. This is a full Damascus pocket clip. So up until this point, whenever I see Damascus on a production knife, the price just goes way up. It's neat that the standard version of this knife, the exact same version of this knife, comes in at about $200, $205, and then this version comes in at about $235. So it's about 30 extra bucks. for the Damascus pocket clip. I have definitely seen standalone Damascus clips go for $100, and I've also seen Damascus editions on production knives being offered at the retail for anywhere from $80 to $150 more. And I could be wrong about that range, right? But more than the standard version without the clip. So that's cool that they, you know, give you the option for some Damascus. I like how Damascus looks. Some people really don't like how it looks. But I like how it looks. I think it's cool. It doesn't offer any functional benefit over just a regular titanium clip. But this looks nice, you know, and if for me, yeah, I'm happy to pay that extra $30 for a little bit of Damascus. Honestly, for $300, I'd be happy to pay that for the Damascus inlay. If you're not into the aesthetics, I mean, truthfully, if you're looking at this knife, at least part of you is interested in, you know, embellishment and, you know, the excess fancy features, right? Maybe Damascus isn't your thing, but it means that maybe there is some aesthetic feature that if it was offered for a little bit more money, if it was your cup of tea, you might pay for it. In the case of this knife and the Damascus that's offered for the inlay, I probably would spring for that. If it were me and I was going to pick this knife up, I probably would spring for the $300 version just to get that Damascus inlay. That's a lot of Damascus to fit in here, right? Pretty cool. This side is much the same as the front, except it doesn't have the inlay. There is some slight contouring going on, which I appreciate. There's a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop. You can see there it's locking up. Engagement on the tang of the blade is probably about 45% or so. No lock stick or anything like that. The blade has remained perfectly centered since I got it. There is no blade play up, down, left, or right. Very, very cool. Now, this pocket clip, unfortunately, has one of those designs where it does this curvature. Pocket clips that do this, that swoop upward and sort of have a belly to them, they don't fight your pants. This pocket clip wants to work really well with a very specific seam thickness of pocket. And that drives me crazy because sometimes if you're wearing pants that are a little bit thicker than the brim of this pocket clip, then you have to do that thing where you hold the knife and you hold your pocket and you press. That drives me crazy. I don't understand what this whole this arcing curvature thing is. If it's just swooped like this, then it will simply rise, you know, as you push it into the pocket. This wants to fit over a very specific thickness of seam and less than that. And I don't like that. It's not really that big of a deal. You got to take one extra step to get it to get into your pocket, but that's weird. I don't know why they did that. That's one little nitpick I have about the pocket clip, but I've seen that pocket clip design. I've seen that on so many. It's not just Kaiser or Kansept. I've seen it on knives that are less expensive, on knives that are more expensive. I don't understand it. It drives me crazy. Both designs seem to, you know, hold on to the pocket just fine. But that's that thing I have about swoops, right? Because they don't come up high enough where they, you know, it seems like they're going to snag on something. But see, it's got a lower point, right? I mean, this sticks up a little bit higher, so you'd think that this would be easier to get into a thicker pant. No, pushing this into a thicker pocket seam, it just rises with the thickness. The seam gets shoved into that point, and then it has to go all the way back here before it starts accepting that curvature. And in practice, I mean, it's something that's hard to describe until you know, are actually trying to push it into your pocket with one. I like a pocket knife that I can take with one hand and just push it into my pocket. I don't want to have to use two hands. It's a stupid little thing. Using two hands to get the knife in your pocket is not that big of a deal. But if your hands are busy, if you got one hand busy and you got your knife hand is dedicated to getting the knife back in your pocket, you don't have to let go of the thing that you might have holding up or were cutting to get that knife back in your pocket. It's just a little convenience thing. So I'm getting hung up on that. It's really not that big of a deal. So again, what can I complain about here? T6 screws. It has a non-functional thumb hole opener thing. It's just an aesthetic feature. It would have been nice to have access to that. It's a bit, not super thick behind the edge, but it's a bit thick behind the edge. It's really not that big of a deal. Pocket clip, I want it to swoop upward. I don't want it to have this overarching pointy thing going on here. For some people, it's going to be a bit big, you know, in their area. Outside of that, though, I don't have any complaints. I forgot to point out the maker's mark there. Let's do that here real quick. I wonder if which one of these is set to be just a tad brighter. There we go. Does it say right here? Can you see it? Oh, The angle just does not want to work with me today. Maybe if I turn it this way, if we can see, there we go. That is Kim Ning, I think is what it says. It's hard to see in my light. I'm so sorry. Kim, that's an N. It doesn't look like it, but it's Kim Ning is the designer. And that's who well, no, that's not actually who I don't think it's exactly who I spoke with on Instagram, but that is the designer of this knife. And I think that's like the Ning Shoal. If you guys remember that knife from Kaiser, same designer as far as I'm aware. So anyways, despite those nitpicks, can I recommend this knife? Yeah, 100%. They want $235 for this. They want $200 for the version without the clip. They've got ones that are a little less expensive, and some of the versions that they've got quite a few different variants of this that are coming soon. So if you want to check those out, click the link down below. Lots of different versions, right? When that basic all-tie version comes out with nothing crazy going on, you know, at one set, oh my gosh, yeah, excellent. It looks like they're going to do the heavy price competitive thing, you know, the same kind of deal that Kaiser was doing, but they will offer, you know, versions that are more or less embellished, letting people get what they want. I think that's cool. This is an excellent design. This is definitely, as far as everything, I'll link all Kansept knife designs that I can find down in the description. You can check them all out. As far as all the knives that they offer right now, this is definitely my favorite one. This is excellent. I think anybody who picks this up is really, really going to like it. I think it'll fit right along with what you expect in today's knife world at that price point. And in this case, like between 170 and 300. That's cool. If that's the mark that they're going to aim for, that's a very, very competitive zone. But if they do it right and they offer materials that are somewhat unexpected in that price range, I think people are really going to like them. I think the general consensus of people who understand what Kansept knives is, I think people are on board for it. You know, I think people, it seems like there's an air of positivity surrounding Kansept, and I'm really impressed by the stuff that they have let me take a look at, and so I'm interested to see what else they come out with in the future. So this knife is going to be listed on my most recommended knives playlist. Check that out if you want to see all the knives that I recommend, but yeah, I'm going to be including this one down there. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's review. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that middle complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.